What do you mean, you people?
What do you mean, you people?
Who are you people?
You people.
What do you mean, you people?
Mall in it was in Newington, New Hampshire, the Foxford Mall. I turn into the Foxford Mall parking lot. All of a sudden, I feel like my wheels fucking stiff for some reason. Apparently, the lanyard got caught in the wheel column, and I'm just cranking my fucking lanyard into my wheel column.
Awesome.
To the point where it bent the key.
Nice.
So like, I go to try to take it out. When I took it out, it snapped in half, and I was like, "Fuck."
So no, all you had to do was turn the thing to start your car?
No, like the key came out. But
Oh.
it came out, and then after it came out, I like just put it down somewhere, like in a cup holder. And as I put it in the cup holder, the fucking thing just broke. Like that was like the final little straw that like broke the camel's back.
That's crazy.
I didn't like fucking throw it in there. I just kind of like here you go, like kind of like a soft toss. And the moment it hit the fucking plastic, and I was like, my girlfriend, soon to be wife, now ex-wife, looked at me and she's like, "Do you have a spare?" I go, "Yeah," at the house, which was like 45 fucking minutes away, and we had no car. Like,
What you should have had to done,
Yeah,
for future reference, take the broken part
yeah,
and cram it in there,
yeah,
and then take the other broken part and cram it in as
Yeah.
far as it'll all go,
Yeah.
and then start that bitch up. It'll work.
okay. I mean, hopefully I'm hoping I don't run into that fucking problem again. That would
For
be-
sure, but
Yeah.
you know, I drive some hoopties sometimes,
Yeah.
and that's just part of hoopty life.
So I gotta
Yeah.
ask, Jake.
Yeah.
As somebody, we've lived together like 5 years, give or take.
Yeah, shit, it has been that long. Yeah.
Um,
4
How
years.
many of the keys that are currently in your hand belong to the old apartment?
I think this one does. Maybe this one. I don't know. One of them does. I think one of them does. Or I know
and,
one of.
and if only one, what does the other one or others belong to?
I think it's for the actual door, like the front door to the house.
Of this house?
Yeah, this house. Yeah.
Oh, that's true. I did give you a set in
Yeah.
case that, not the.
Because I always wanted
Right.
the back of it because I just like forgot that fucking code. But then now it's like muscle memory. Like I can't.
Fair.
Yeah, I can't fuck it if I tried. But
I
I know.
So for those of you that might be listening to this, when we first moved in here shortly after, most of us have like 4 or 5 digit codes to get
yeah,
into the house.
We're one of
right?
those houses. Yeah.
I'm old school. I just turn the knob.
Right. Well, we lock. We have like a digital thing, right?
Yeah.
We had a guy that he's from New Zealand, and he said, "Well, 4 or 5 digits, that's not secure." And I remember Michael gave him like literally like an 11 digit, the longest the thing would allow. And so we always knew it was him coming home because it would be like beep, 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 beep. It went on forever.
Narking yourself out, man. He was a good dude, though.
Yeah, I gotta get back. I messaged him and texted because that would have costed both of us some fucking $1 million because he's in New Zealand. But I checked.
Right.
You can't text internationally?
There might be charges. I mean, I could, but like I think there's charges.
I shot him a text too,
Yeah.
but I guess he was already there. So he got into, and I don't want to say his name, but his mom fell ill, and as a result of COVID, because he's a New Zealand national.
Yeah.
He's allowed to go back with minimal quarantine issues because he's a citizen, but his wife and child were not.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
So he's there dealing with a dying family member, an 8-hour time difference, and a 12-hour flight away from his emotional support structure.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucked.
And then if you
man.
call him, it's gonna be like a fucking $80 million fucking phone bill too.
I mean, you can find ways, like, I suppose you can do it through, like, web apps, like WhatsApp.
Or you can call him through Facebook or
Right,
something like that.
But
or
still,
yeah.
like, you're on such a time difference, and it's like, is that, like, that's a real motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, for him to be like, well, I have to go take care of my mom,
yeah.
and the 2 other people that he loves most in life literally aren't allowed to come with him.
Yeah.
Like, his kid could do school from there.
That hurts my feelings.
Yeah. That sucks.
Why?
It just sucks that his family's torn apart because of a disease that's not as bad as they say it is.
Well, New Zealand, to their credit, pretty tight about shit.
Yeah, they don't
And
fuck.
they live
What
on
do their numbers look like? I don't
zero.
even know what the
Literal
population.
zero.
Yeah, they fucking they
Yeah,
got.
but how many people live there? Because wasn't
Couple, a
Norway
few million.
like?
A few million, but they're on an island, so they were able to shut it all fucking off,
Yeah,
and therefore they fundamentally there were no cases.
You just quarantine the whole island.
Yeah, quite literally.
Fancy.
But I don't know what their population is.
Right. Because I remember someone was freaking out about the, like, someone was saying something about Wyoming.
5
and how
million
they should
people.
have more, like, voting counts or something. And I was like, well, the problem with that is Wyoming has a population less than Aurora.
yeah.
Right.
And they're spread out all over hell.
Yeah.
Same
I'm
with
like,
the
so-
Dakotas.
Yeah. I'm like, so, no, they don't necessarily deserve more voting rights than any, like,
Well, that's an interesting thing. So, I don't know how much we want to get into it. We're like post-election, and I'm really apprehensive to go into any of it. But I hear a lot of people that are very opposed to the idea of the Electoral College. Does the Electoral College have its flaws? Absolutely, because
I
at
think
the end
that
of
whole system is bullshit.
well, at the end of the day, none of us actually have a vote. All our vote has done is to tell a delegate, this is how we want you to vote. That delegate, under law, is allowed to vote however they please. That's a fundamental flaw. However, the population density shouldn't dictate that. Like it's supposed to be there's however many people in the House of Representatives, and each representative there represents a vote for the president, even though it's
So
not.
how many are there? Because this is part of the government I'm ignorant to, so I'm asking a legitimate question. I believe there's 2 senators, 2 Congress people from
No.
each state.
No, so there's 2 senators. There's always 100 senators. There's 2 from each state.
Yeah.
That's just the way the Senate rules. The House of Representatives is based upon districting, which is supposed to be decided by census counts, so that every member of the House of Representatives represents the same number of people. That's the way.
Yeah.
That's the hope. Okay.
Like-
There's a lot of we can get into the long weeds about gerrymandering and all that, which is all absolutely legitimate.
But like Wyoming has 1.
Right.
You know.
So because of the population, because Wyoming or the Dakotas, they have 1 because their population in the entire state is less than, as you pointed out, the city of Aurora, not even necessarily the county of Aurora. Aurora, like I don't know
Aurora's got 2 counties. It's half Arapahoe and half Adams.
but counties do not dictate representatives in the House. It is districting. So when you're voting for the House District 5 in Colorado, it is this subset of people that are determined somewhat arbitrarily by lines drawn on a map.
I don't believe it's arbitrary at all. I believe
Well,
it's very
it's-
well defined.
Well, it's very defined and it's not logical because it splits apart. It's all strategic. It's all
fair.
strategic. It absolutely is, and this is the fundamental problem. However, it's not the House of Representatives that votes for the president. A lot of people believe like, okay, I voted for this representative for my district. They represent my views. They are in government, and therefore they vote for the president. Quite the contrary. There are delegates that vote for the president that are not, they sometimes can be House members, but they usually aren't. It's just some guy.
Or it's like a state senator or state congressman.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
literally some
My
guy.
name is Doug, and I am a delegate for the state of the fine state of Nevada.
And so to think that we all vote for president is incorrect. So
Yeah.
people want to say, let's take it to the popular vote, which I suppose is one angle. I don't hate it or love it.
I hate it.
somewhat indifferent to it.
I hate it because it's what it's
Why do you hate the popular vote?
reason why I hate the popular vote is
As
because
a, as a definition to who becomes president.
is
Okay.
because a lot of people are going. It's going to be cities, so like the middle of America is going to just basically be told to get fucked. Like no one's gonna stump in New Hampshire. No one's gonna stump in Nebraska. No one's gonna stump in Iowa. No one's gonna stump in fucking like fucking South Carolina. No one's gonna really, you know what I'm saying? Like all those places are gonna get fucking ignored, and the people that, you know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't know. I just think it's a
If
bad idea.
Every person's vote counts.
Yeah.
Then every person that votes, that's what.
Right.
As soon as you take
Yeah.
it away from every person's vote counts, it's instantly flawed.
So
Yeah.
if we and this is, I think
Yeah.
the attitude you're having is the one that I've had for the longest time because
Yeah.
we exist in a representational constitutional republic.
Yeah.
We are not a democracy. We're a representational constitutional republic.
Yeah.
We're a corporation.
Yeah. Oh, ding.
I can't reach the bell, but I'm
There we
happy
go.
to give yourself one on that. The point is that our votes have never actually counted for anything that is for president. Our votes do count, popular vote for everything other than president. The president is the only the vote where our votes are not actually the ones that matter. It's the vote of the electoral college that matters.
Yeah, because it's happened. This is, I think, would be if Trump did win this election, it would be, I think, the fifth or sixth time this has happened. Because it's happened a lot. It's back way,
Where
way
he
back.
loses the popular but wins the
Yeah,
presidency.
but that should happen
Well,
twice
he
back.
won
in,
it. He did
yeah.
that in 2016. Bush did it in
2000.
2000.
Kennedy didn't. Kennedy did it maybe in 60.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought he won by an overwhelming
No.
margin. And then you have other sides of that where
Yeah.
like Reagan won every state
Basic-
but one.
Basically, this
It
is
was
this
like
wa-
500 electoral votes to 3.
the 1960 election was basically the same thing as this one, right?
Is that who was he running against?
Nixon. It was Nixon against Kennedy.
Oh, that's right.
So like,
That's very famous.
yeah.
I should have known.
So there was stories like that. Nixon was going to try and fucking like basically do what Trump is doing right now, and be like, "Hey, I'm not going to concede yet because there's some fuckery here. There's a lot of fuckery here, especially in Chicago where a lot of dead people voted for him. I mean, that's a fact, man. They figured that they found that shit out thanks to the mob. But
What? They never rig an election.
yeah. So, but they he ended up conceding like I think a week later or something like that because he was like, I don't want to put the country through that, which is not what Trump did. But then again, at the same time, I don't blame Trump really for like pushing it to the limit. Be like, what the fuck, man? Let's look, because when you're writing articles in September about how these voting machines are kind of weird, and the same publication will put out something like during election day that says these are the most secure elections I've ever seen in my life. You that in 2 months you made up that much fucking that much ground? I don't think so. Like I
Well,
mean,
okay.
so.
I
don't like it's gaslighting and it's fucking annoying the shit out of me because it's just we're arguing about an amount of it. There's always going to be fucking election fraud. Always.
to some greater or lesser
Yeah,
degree. You're
that's what I'm
absolutely
saying.
right.
But to say with like an absolute statement of there was absolutely no fuckery here. Really? Come on.
I think, and yes, you're
Yeah.
right. You're quite right. That's an accepted like.
Would you
Hey,
yeah.
shit happens. We hear about it every year. It's just like, well, some reporter goes digging. How did her dead husband vote in this election? You
Yeah.
know, like you hear about that. My bigger issue is that Trump is being. I don't think that he should have conceded right away. I
Oh,
don't.
yeah, yeah.
I
He
He
still
definitely don't.
legally hasn't.
but
he's making moves as if he's going to though.
I think that he also quite literally told on national air people to commit election fraud. He did. Go vote twice, vote 3 times, vote as many times as you can. Use your dead parents.
Yeah.
Like he said this. He's like, we got to win. If it got used against him, fuck you then. You got motherfucked by your own bullshit.
Well-
Like you ran your mouth, and everybody's like, "Fine, I guess the president told us that we could do that. He thought it was going to just be your supporters, but
Yeah,
hey,
but-
if you went out like that, that's kind of on you, man.
I don't know if he meant to do this or not, but I mean, it was kind of like a 3D, 4D chess movie if you think about it, because if he's telling people that in the open, North Carolina, which is I think the state is where he was saying that, North Carolina's not going to go. No. We're going to make sure every fucking ballot is legit. Fuck this shit. We are gonna put extra man hours into this. We're gonna make sure, goddamn sure. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that might have shored up North Carolina as far as like not having any or as much fuckery as some other places.
But I mean,
Because he kind of put him on notice in a weird way. I think that's. I don't think he was doing that on purpose. I think that's kind of how
yeah,
it.
but that's how
Yeah.
educated people respond to it.
The-
That's
yeah,
not the
here's
bulk of
the
the
thing-
American voting public. And I'm not even saying Trump supporters. I'm saying the American voting public.
The thing with Trump, what people got to remember is like this guy says the quiet shit out loud.
He definitely does.
Yes, that's the thing about him. That's what people don't like him because he says he says the things that everyone's thinking about this shit out loud. Like he went after the military-industrial complex, which I was like, that's ballsy. 2 years into your fucking term, and you're like, yeah, these guys are fucking just trying to make money off of war. Ugh, you know.
It's actually one of the things I respect him for.
Yeah, and then also he was doing shit about the deep state, where it's like, he's like, yo, these guys are fucking being shitheads. Like they're terrible, you know. And then they were like, oh, it's a fucking conspiracy theory, QAnon. And then, of course, he's QAnon because the QAnon's like a bunch of fucking wannabe fucking smart people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And they pull from this basket of bullshit, you know, and they bring them to the fucking forefront. When in reality, all we're basically saying is that this guy's telling us that our deep state is fucking way too powerful. They need to be checked. And he's literally just bringing it up, and everyone's motherfuckering him over it.
I'll say this, and probably
Yeah.
plenty of other things. The reason that I actually have the reason I have respect for Trump as a president, if he had, and I think I've said this before, if he had never had access to Twitter, he'd probably be respected as one of the best. Because he fulfilled almost every one of his campaign promises.
Yeah.
Did he drain the swamp? Not necessarily, but he didn't bring in political lifers into the fray. Instead, he fucking tried to throw the middle finger at him. I would have respected him a little more if he had done the high hard one to McConnell, because that's a lifer that he should have just been like, the fuck are you doing here? Get the fuck out. He did that to Pelosi, but he didn't do it to McConnell. And that bugs me because McConnell's equally garbage.
But that's his party, though. He's not going to go after his own party.
Yeah, but he did in so many other things. But he never fucked with McConnell, and that's one thing that I just don't. I don't have respect for.
He
that.
went after those never Trumpers like Romney and shit. Like that ilk.
He went after the entire party constantly, but never called out McConnell. And McConnell is a piece of shit.
He
called out Lindsey Graham,
Yeah,
who's
but
been the most
McConnell might be
consistent
that piece of
ethical.
shit he needed to get anything done.
Yeah,
Maybe, but
I don't
mean,
know. I don't know. I don't.
that guy knows how to twist arms, man.
I appreciate the fact that he pulled. We haven't had any measurable wars. That he's pulled troops back. That he's tried to renegotiate.
You know they lied to him about how many people we had in fucking Syria? They lied to him. This is what I'm talking about, like with the deep state and all that shit. They want these wars to keep going. When he's like, let's get fucking all these troops out of fucking Syria. Like we got 9,000. I think he wanted it down to 3 or whatever. They lied to him. They were like, yeah, they're down to 3. When in reality, they had like 7,000 still there and had no plans of taking them out. So like they're basically going around the president of the United States to do whatever the fuck they want in foreign engagements. That's fucked up.
Which is exactly when you talk about the military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
It was fucking I
A
want to
lot
say
of-
MacArthur, but he wasn't. It was who was the president right after? It's gonna bug the fuck out of me. But he was the one that was like, beware the military-industrial complex. Eisenhower.
But he said
Thank
that
you.
shit like on the
I
way
needed
out
that.
the door, you know what I mean? Which is fine. I mean, great. And he said it, and it's appreciated that he basically was like, hey, yo, before I leave, this is fucked up. You know, but like at the same, and then of course the guy who took over his job after him got shot in the fucking head in Dallas.
Probably because
Yeah.
because he was actually
because he went after the CIA and he went out. You know, what I'm saying like
He went
he,
after the
pissed
the
off the-
soul of
Yeah.
the military-industrial complex.
and he pissed off the wrong people. JFK just pissed off the wrong people. I think he was just too arrogant. I don't think he knew any better. Because
You may be right, but I also think that what he was trying to do was like, hey, maybe we could take these military contracts and get us into space.
yeah.
Like, he probably was just like, we'll dump money, we'll honor our contracts, but instead of making fucking bombers and shit,
Yeah.
get us to the moon.
As soon as these Nazis learn American, we can fucking make it happen.
By the time Kennedy was in office, the Nazis definitely spoke English.
Okay, they were already working at NASA. All right, perfect.
Oh, for
When-
sure.
When was NASA founded? In like 53 or something stupid?
And
Google
the,
that.
And the chief scientist was the guy that
Voma.
helped made the V2.
Yeah.
The one of the best quotes from him. He said when they fired the V2 rocket, he said it was the most beautiful rocket ever. It just landed on the wrong planet.
Right. Yeah, it's a famous quote. You're right. October 1st, 58 was the foundation of NASA.
It landed on the wrong planet. What do you mean? What did
He
you mean?
wanted it
Werner
to
von
go.
Braun wanted to build rockets to go to space.
Oh, like deep space shit?
Yeah,
Oh,
the
of-
Nazis
out
were
of
like, "You
atmosphere.
build this rocket to kill,"
yeah.
and they did. The V2 rocket fucked up a lot of Europe.
I mean, it's much like Oppenheimer,
yeah,
who quoted like
Vishnu?
Hindu text.
Yeah.
Like, I've done an amazing thing. I've fused atoms. Like, nobody's done this before me. And what have I done? I have done quite possibly the worst evil to
Yeah.
the rest of humanity in history
Yeah.
in the pursuit of science. Like, he legitimately wasn't interested in making a bomb. He wanted to be like, can we create fusion? Can we create an energy source? Can we do something? And they were like, yeah, we're going to do this. And thanks for your science. You go sit over here while we make a crater in the middle of Nevada. Yeah, wait, you did what now? Yeah, like I said, you stay over here and shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, Oppenheimer was one of those good guys who was just like, dude, I just wanted more knowledge. And wow, you deep dicked me
Yeah,
on
man.
this one.
That's like the guy who was Deep Throat. Speaking of that, like the guy who was Deep Throat in fucking Nixon when the Watergate Deep Throat. That guy kept his fucking mouth shut for like decades. About didn't come out, wasn't like, you know, and then like as he's like kind of in his older years, he's like, I kind of want to write a book. Fuck it, I'm Deep Throat. and they asked him like, why are you coming out now? He's like, I want to write a book and make some money. He's like, can this guy never not tell the truth? Like, holy fuck.
I just,
Yeah.
there's a lot of well-meaning individuals whose energy is taken and corrupted and put elsewhere.
Yeah.
You know, if
give
they're
me
not
an example.
like if they're not killed, like there was that story, you remember the guy that found a way to get a internal combustion engine that was driven by water.
Yeah.
He could make it from New York to LA, not like Cannonball Run speed, but
Sure,
could
yeah.
do it in like 4 days running on entirely water. And the news launched this story, and then literally the next day, nobody heard anything, and then a week later, he was dead.
Of like a
Sure.
heart attack. Yeah.
Like, there's little things like, oh, he died of a heart attack. He'd been working so hard on this, and, you know, the stress. And you're just like, I don't know about that.
Or sometimes they come running out of a restaurant yelling, "They poisoned me! They poisoned me!"
Yep. I don't know. No.
Or sometimes they shoot themselves in the back of the head twice.
Yeah. Damnedest thing.
It's happened. You know, sometimes you go to pull the trigger and you can't quite figure it out. You go scratch your head and with the muzzle of your
Yeah.
Glock.
Well, you play Russian roulette with a clip gun, like with a not, you know.
With a
Sometimes
not a revolver.
sometimes
Yeah.
you get robbed in a decent neighborhood and they don't steal anything from you. You just get shot in the back.
Yeah. It's, man, it's just sometimes these things you see them and you're like, really? Like,
Sometimes you figure out the Iran-Contra affair
So-
and then you die in a hotel or parking lot.
So let me ask you this. Let's take this discussion slightly differently. So say you, Bear, were the one that figured out how to run a V8 efficiently off of nothing but water. Okay, and you're like, hey man,
I'm not that guy, but I
no,
appreciate your
okay,
enthusiasm.
No, but like, say you are. Say you're like, man, I can make it from Denver to fucking New York City in 3 days on like 5 gallons of water. I'm going like 75. I can't do buck 5, but I can do 75. And then the government comes to you and says, you need to never talk about this again. How do you react to that in that situation? Like, as a
I have legitimate questions because now did someone come to me with like did a government man come be like, Mr. Quattlebaum, we would appreciate it if you don't talk about this anymore. We have deposited X amount of dollars into your checking account. Go ahead and check that now.
well, so
Or did like some knucklehead show up and be like, "You don't talk about this water car, motherfucker," and then like try and rough me up in the driveway and I'm like.
okay, so imagine you're in a situation. Did you ever see the first Thor movie?
Well, I mean, yeah, but it's been a while.
Okay, so there's a moment in the Thor movie where the Shield shows up, and this is before we know who Shield is, and they take all of the girl's research, right? Scoop it all the fuck up, and they're like, "Yeah, sorry, it's ours now." And you walk in, and they're doing that to you, and they say, and you're just like, "That's my shit. What the fuck? Yep, this is of national security. We're taking this." Do you react in a way that's going to end with you accidentally firing shots simultaneously in both temples?
Oh, I mean, if
While
the man
also
if the
doing a
man has shown
crossword?
up to like wipe me,
Yes.
I'm probably not leaving that building breathing.
You wouldn't ethically, like your own ethics would prevent you from being like, how do we play ball together?
Well, see, now that's a different option. That's what I said. Like, is it a guy comes in and just takes my shit and pistol whips me? Or is it like 5 guys grab my shit while one guy's like, Mr. Quattlebaum, this is our proposition. We would like to offer you such, and such.
Let's go with this. Let's go with that.
That's the scenario?
Yes, let's go with that
Oh,
scenario.
yeah. I've said my entire life, if I ever had something of absolute value, I would sell out. Like, on a vanilla ice level. So if the government came to me and like, we will set up enough money that you never have to work again, you will get X amount of money deposited into your account every Friday without fail, yada yada yada. We've already deposited $5 million, paid off all your debts, this, that, and the other.
Like for
If I
you and
knew
your
that
next
my
2 generations.
if my life's work was well compensated, that's fine.
But what if
whatever.
you had to negotiate for that? What if it's just like, we're taking that, and you have to say, okay, why am I keeping quiet about this?
Oh, and that's when I'm going to get heated, and I'm probably going to get shot in a parking lot.
Would you wouldn't take like, what are you giving me in return?
I'd ask, but if they're not, if
If
negotiation,
they're not offering
yeah,
what
if
you
they're-
just described, you're
yeah.
just like, and you're gonna end up
I'm
as
a-
a
yeah,
you're
dude, I'm like-
suiciding yourself.
yeah, man, they're gonna be like,
Epstein.
what happened to Bear? Oh, he invented a fucking truck that runs on water, and then he shot himself in the back with a 12 gauge like 3 times.
We don't really understand how he was so nimble to get his toe back there to do it, but what
Yeah,
about
you
you,
just-
Hamill?
What would I do?
Yeah, in same situation.
I mean, I would just I would try and sell it to him. I wouldn't try. I mean, I would sell it to him. What the fuck am I gonna do with it? I mean, you can't really sell it to like Ford or anybody because the government will just take it. They'll take it from them. They don't give a fuck. You know, I mean, look how long they kept the electric car down. You know, they would either let it happen and then just through submerging or like basically like fucking with it from within, they would make it to a point where like no one want to buy it.
But
Like they did with the electric car up until just recently.
well, so that's an
Yeah.
interesting point. So I've been following like, especially the electric car for a hot minute. Not, Bear, you might have some say on this. There was a time where fuel cell cars, which are rechargeable with
Oh, hydrogen fuel cells?
correct.
Oh, I really
What
thought that
happened
was
to
the
those?
future, man.
What happened?
I legit thought that was the future.
Because the thing is,
Yeah, I don't know
when you
either.
talk about like, oh, electric cars have been subdued. Well, no, they got rid of them being able to generate energy. All electric cars are still getting their energy off the grid.
Yeah. Yeah.
The fuel cell cars were on a a different.
Well, here's a fun fact.
Space.
The amount of energy that a Tesla supercharger uses to supercharge your Tesla, the amount of energy that's consumed somewhere else in a power plant to make that happen does more damage to the environment on a world impact than me driving a full tank of gas in my truck.
Right.
Yeah.
Not to mention just the logistics of building an electric car. If you think
Right, because
lithium
of
comes cheap
Lithium
or easy,
and nickel. Right.
Well, the only thing like hybrids, I mean, they get their electric power from braking.
some.
Some, yeah,
but-
some, yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing is, it's like it seems like the electric or hybrid cars that we've been given are still like you're still on our grid.
Yeah.
You're still taking our whereas the hydrogen cell stuff was taking it from a completely different place.
Yeah.
And now
So-
it's like, oh, we can't have that.
At one point, I bought a propane. Someone had converted. It was a Ford E250 van, and someone converted it to run on propane. And propane at the time, because this was during the Clinton administration, was significantly cheaper than pump gas. So I was like, dude, gangster, let's do it. And then all of a sudden, propane started just disappearing. Like, you could find just tanks big enough to barbecue with, but it was hard to find refill places, like places that would refill your tank.
Yep.
And so it got to where there's only like 3 places in the city where I could refill my van.
And that's because a lot of the RTD in Denver
Yeah.
runs off of
Natural
gas. And that's you can't find natural gas sources other than like fucking RTD stations.
Yeah.
that
There's a
you can't
natural gas
use.
station at the corner of I-70 in Havana.
Really?
Yeah, if you get off, say you're coming like...
Do trucks run off of it? Are there trucks that run off of it, or
Yeah.
is that not
so
a
there's
thing?
some delivery trucks run on natural gas.
Like big, like over the road. Shit.
Oh, I don't know enough about semis to give you an honest answer. We
Okay.
can Google it, though.
I think there's some UPS trucks that do. I know that.
Yeah, I know that like commercial fleet vehicles do it. I just don't know if they do it
Yeah.
on a semi level.
Yeah, FedEx does
Have
it.
you ever heard of Nikola?
What?
Yes.
Like
The
Tesla?
truck? No, hang on.
Yeah, dude.
The
I've
truck
been
company?
following this.
This is a wild ride.
So the Nikola Electric Car Company.
So I only found out about this because I follow a bunch of YouTube
It's
car
a big
people.
fuck you to Tesla because they were like, we're Nikola. And they're out of like somewhere in Europe, right?
I'm not entirely sure where they're from. If you want to Google that, that would be much appreciated. So these guys claimed that they built an electric semi. They were going to be able to drive like some crazy far range without like before you had to recharge it.
Yeah.
Like they were supposed to be good to like 800 miles or something before you had to recharge it. Just seamless power, pull whatever you need to pull, just go, 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 go. And they got all this investment capital, and then I only found out about it because General Motors made a deal with them where they will give them, they've also, Nikola is supposed to be building a line of pickup trucks that run on a hydrogen.
Yeah, they're doing hydrogen fuel cell stuff.
Yeah, and then like a hydrogen-based hybrid technology as well. So GM is giving them hybrid engines because that's one thing GM did learn. They learned hybrid engines. They thought that was going to be the future of Formula One.
Yeah.
So GM has hybrid engines, or not hybrid, but hydrogen engines. And they're like, tell you what, guys, you build this crazy shit. We'll give you these motors. We just want 10% of your company. You just have these motors. Do what you got to do. And it's kind of a baller move. Because if they blow up, GM could be like, hey, man, we gave them some motors. We were hoping they were going to be good. You know what I mean? And then if they legitimately like, GM already has all of the hydrogen technology and they're 10% owner in this company that just blew up, they can, 10% of ownership, I'm sure, get you some secret ingredients. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, gives you you make an agreement like we need to know your tech, so
Yeah.
that our tech can work with it.
But to not have to influx any cash and get 10%, that's a baller move.
So they're promising up to 2,000 foot-pounds of torque.
Which is bananas. I think my truck's got like 304.
1,000 horsepower,
Also bananas.
500 to 750 mile range on these semis.
That's pretty average. That's
And
what they normally go.
and a less than 20-minute refill time.
What?
And when you think about it, like most truckers are filling 150 gallons.
dude,
It takes
yeah.
a fucking hour to refill
Dude,
a semi.
We got one time. We got a 26 bucks. We had to rent it one time. I forget who from, but they had a huge fucking tank. It was a one-side tank, not dual. It was a one-sided tank, and it was fucking enormous. We took it to Florida and back. And I remember one time in I think it was somewhere in like North Carolina. We're pumping at one of those fucking pilots or whatever. You know, the fucking get the truck stops. And I literally put both in. I put the one in, clicked the handle in, and went and bought like lunch, got a drink, fucking ate my lunch, fucking drank my drink, fucking went up, washed my hands, took a shit, came back, and it was almost done. It takes you that fucking long to fill up when your tank's that big. So like the fact that it's only 20 minutes or less than that, that's pretty fucking amazing.
So they're talking about having dihydrogen stations, H2 stations.
Oof. Good luck building those.
It has so much less issues than gas stations because it's not necessarily combustible
Yeah.
in its
But like where are you going to put those?
natural state.
Like are you going to try and put them at whatchamacallits at truck stops?
I mean that's
I imagine
definitely
you have to build its own truck stop, like maybe at one of those exits it doesn't have anything.
Yeah.
Or I mean because if they're only focusing on long haul truckers over the road, what harm is it? Like, hey, we need one pump for this,
Yeah.
and it's that, and they just handle that. You get enough buy-in. Like you gotta, I mean, to overcome the idea of like petroleum is it's a fool's gambit.
Yeah, no, I remember like when the first Tesla came out, the little Lotus-based Roadster.
Yeah,
I was like, that is a fun amount of performance for a car that size, but you can't even drive it to Vegas.
right.
Not from here, not from the Denver metro area.
But would you agree that he was kind of smart to make it be like, dude, the one thing this has is like legit pickup and torque.
Oh, absolutely, because that's the
and
only thing they got, and that in like Tesla's name or not Tesla,
Elon Musk.
yeah,
Well,
as a brand name.
well, the-
That's what saved Tesla.
I feel like the smart thing he did was just like, yeah, I'm going to build a track day car. Like that first Roadster
yeah.
had.
Oh, it was never meant to be a daily. It was meant to be the ultimate toy.
Yeah, exactly. And then he used the money that people bought into to be like, oh, fuck, I can compete with supercars, which they legitimately could.
Some of them do.
And then build a brand off of that. Like he went for the high end, like hobbyist, and then says, now I can bring it to the people. Like, and he started, like, a lot of those cars are not really that expensive, all things considered. They're in line with like a
What's a 3 go for? I heard they quit making
Yeah,
the
they
3.
stopped making the 3. Just came out like the last
Does that
week.
mean what are they replacing it with? Does that mean we get the truck now?
Maybe. Oh God, that truck. Can you imagine a big ass like a ridiculous SUV that can do 0 to 60 in 2.9?
I bet it already exists.
I'm sure it
Look
does.
up like a SRT8 Jeep or a Hellcat Durango.
Dude, those Hellcats are fucking stupid.
I love Dodge right now. They're like, hey, can we put a Hellcat in that? They're like, no, seriously. Well, can we fit a Hellcat in that? Because that'd be a good time, boss. Because we can put a Hellcat in a Durango, put a Hellcat in a Jeep,
Do you remember
in a
that?
Charger.
I think it was a Top Gear episode where it was supposed to just be James May and Clarkson doing Italy in like a fine Italian. you
Yeah,
know, so-
And then
then
Hammond shows up in
the
a Hellcat Challenger.
where they had to take out the headlights to add extra fucking intakes. So
Yeah.
they looked like headlights, but it was just
Yeah.
more fucking air.
He had like basically a NASCAR pit crew truck, like an entire semi dedicated to like keeping this thing just whatever it needs, and then another entire semi just full of tires.
Jesus.
And
Because the
just
thing's
so
like
everywhere they would stop, he would just be like, "Brah!" It was like one of the last good Top Gears that they did.
was it? No, it was one of the early Grand Tours. I
Nope.
thought.
Because I've only seen the first season of the Grand Tour once. But the episode that you discuss, I've seen on Top Gear. I've seen it a couple times.
It's a Grand Tour.
Is
That
it?
was the one where they shut down.
Yeah, Amazon gave them a fuckload of money, man.
Yeah.
It's like, go nuts.
Did you hear what fucking BBC tried to offer him to come back after they said they were done with the Grand Tour? Because they did. They finished out their Grand Tour contract. It's done. And then the BBC's like, so, you want to come back? We got money.
What'd they offer them?
I don't know. It was huge. I was afraid to look. I was
Oh.
upset. The thing is a mongrel.
Oh, that one. Yeah, so, yeah. This is the one they did in Colorado.
No, this is in like Italy or
It's
something.
in Italy.
Oh, was it Italy?
Wine, some food, some art.
I love this. I do love Hammond and his love of American V8s.
Right. I love a good V8. I forgot. It's been a long time since I've had a V8.
Sadly, the end.
What's a Hellcat go for? Can we Google that, James?
We certainly can.
Okay.
What's your dream car, Hambone? Like, say, like you won the lottery tomorrow and you got fuck you money. The Kia's paid off. You got your own house. Your mom's taken care of for the rest of her life. Like, what's your dream car? What do you call me to be like, hey, how do I buy one of these?
I like sporty cars, so like I would want to get a really cool like Honda Civic. I like those kind of four bangers. I don't know why. Just I grew up driving
I
them.
like sporty cars.
Yeah. Like
I
like
would buy a Honda Civic.
but like like little zippy cars that kind of like, you know what I'm saying, like four bangers fucking. I don't want to like side or make the tires all weird and all that kind of stuff. I would like a really kind of like souped up.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
like, you can buy any car you want.
Yeah. That's what I like. I don't know.
You want a Honda Civic.
A nice one, like a really fucking dope one. Like
Can you Google me an example of a Honda Civic that you're into just because I'm curious?
I don't.
James, what's your fuck you money car? I have a short list.
Okay. If I was buying,
Oh, how much was a fucking Hellcat before you switched it to a Civic?
like 60 grand,
That's not bad.
58
lot of fun.
base model 58.5.
That's a lot of fun for $58,000.
If I was getting a car of my dreams, part of me goes into the Subaru WRX territory. Part of me.
Sure, sure.
Another part of me goes into just a ridiculous, like a complete, like a Ford F-350 diesel, Power Stroke diesel.
Okay.
Like something with just torque that is ridiculous.
Sure.
Like a ground clearance that gets me to anywhere. A rock crawling. Like,
You want a rock crawling dually?
no, what I want in reality, my dream car is like a 94 Land Rover Defender.
Okay.
Where literally there is no terrain that I can't deal with. Like I can
Sure.
flip it and just like it's fine. The interior is meant to be power washed.
Yeah. No, I worked at a Rover dealership. I've driven many a Defender 90.
Defender 90 was quite possibly, in my opinion, it was like if somebody took the Jeep Wrangler and made it actually awesome. It was the Defender 90. It's just
Pull
the
up a Defender 90 so Hamill can see. Is that an accurate representation of the Honda you like, Hamill?
No. I'm talking
Okay.
like probably like circa like.
and they came out with a new Defender 90 which should be fucking killed. This.
Looks like a Jeep.
No, this is the new one. It looks like a Land Rover. This is the one I'm after.
Oh, wow! I've seen those before. Yeah.
People that own those fucking love those.
And they'll never sell them. They
No.
will drive them until literally the meter runs out of numbers.
And then put a new meter in and keep going.
Right.
Or just let it flip over.
It's the dopest. You can take everything off of that car
Yeah.
and just run with it. Like the windshield comes off. Like you'd be like, oh, I'm going dinosaur hunting. Cool. Like I can remove all the glass from the vehicle, and it still is a beast in any terrain. Like the Top Gear did the thing where they drove it up the steepest
Up the
fucking dam.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't make it over the thing, and they had to pull him up, and he was just like, this is terrifying, but the car did this.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking psychotic. With their, like, 1,500-pound winch or whatever they put on it.
Yeah.
So my short list, okay? I want a Hennessy Escalade. Go ahead and show Hamill what a Hennessy Escalade looks like.
Is it an Escalade full of Hennessy?
Well, not the Hennessy you think, but yes. Show a video.
Yeah, I was like, because it's like, what, a 1,700 horsepower car?
They're not that. Most of them are floating between 6 and 800. Like there's two packages roughly. Although I have seen some LS. There's this guy out there with this thing called the LS Escalade, and he's got like a 520 cubic inch LS big block in it, with like two 98 millimeter turbos. He's running like 1,400 horsepower.
All right.
This is the king of SUVs.
So yeah, I want one of those.
Yeah.
What's next?
I still want a C7 Vet. I want a C7 Z06 all day. They haven't figured out how to hack the ECUs on the C8, and like they're just limited at power.
Talking about this one?
Yeah, I would do the one in blue if I had my druthers.
And I would butt fuck all your brothers.
Okay.
Nobody. Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar, James.
And
That's a
the-
Sauce Body Series Corvette.
and that was designed by Perina, wasn't it? That body.
I'm not entirely sure. We can Google it. I'm sure Wikipedia can tell
I
you
think
that.
that whole thing was designed by Perina Ferrari, which is the ones that do Ferrari.
Okay.
They designed the body for it. They didn't have a hand in a lot of the everything else. But they
This
made the
was
body.
this was the first, like maybe not the first, but this was the definitive generation Corvette, where like all of a sudden you had to acknowledge that a Corvette could be a supercar.
right.
It's not a hypercar, but it is definitely a supercar. Because for the longest time, like all the way well into like the C5 days, like if you had a Corvette, it was loud and it was rumbly and it would do great burnouts, but like you also had a Hawaiian shirt and you were like, oh, my Corvette's awesome. You know what I mean? I don't feel until like maybe the C6 is when the Corvette became like a performance car.
C8. Is that the newest one?
Yeah, that's a C8 Corvette.
That's
They're dope looking. They kind of look like a Ferrari. It's a well joked about thing. Damon Fryer from Daily Driven Exotics even like put fake Ferrari badges on his. Like look up DDE C8. You can see where he put fake
Yeah, he
Ferrari
did.
badges on it.
There's definitely badges right there.
He called
There.
it the La Ferrari.
Well, because it looks like the LaFerrari was
Yeah,
the,
yeah. And then
the
for, like,
hybrid one, wasn't it?
Yeah, for a while he called it the La C8. And then he got a cease and desist.
Ah, boo.
Ferrari takes that shit serious. Ferrari's weird, man. I always thought Ferrari was awesome when I was a kid because it's a fucking Ferrari. But then more you learn about Ferrari as like a corporation, and then about Enzo as a human, you're like, oh fuck Ferrari. Like, do you know who Deadmau5 is?
Yeah.
DJ.
He got a Ferrari. I don't remember. I think maybe like a 430 Maranello or something. And he had it wrapped like a meme, basically. Look up the Ferrari, like Deadmau5 Ferrari. And he had it wrapped, and it had like, you know, the thing where it looks like a piece of toast is flying across a rainbow or whatever, like dumb shit like that.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Oh, the
sorry, a
meme
pop-
cat? Yeah, the meme cat thing, yeah.
And fucking Ferrari sent a cease and desist and then took his Ferrari back.
They can do that?
Yeah.
Like, you can't ever really fully own a Ferrari?
Well, somebody, when you buy a certain kind of Ferrari,
Okay.
you can't mod it. It's part of like the thing you sign when you buy it.
It's like part of the sales agreement. Like,
What?
you can own this vehicle, but you can't modify it. And you can, like, there's some of them that you can only buy and use on track days.
Yes, there
And
are
then you have to,
some-
like, call Ferrari and schedule that track day so they can send, like, a team out to monitor your car while you're racing it.
Yes, you're also paying like about $4 million for that car. Like the ones that Bear's describing, where they come out and be like,
Yeah,
"Oh, you're
yeah.
taking this for a track." There's some that you own it, but you don't get to drive it unless Ferrari staff is on site to deal with it.
Why in the fuck? These
But-
cars must
but-
be amazing then, because that's some bullshit.
But if you,
Yeah.
honestly, you know what you're getting into for $4 million.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you want to, I mean, as
It's
long
not like, oh, they did what to him? It's like, no, that was actually like the
He knew
the
that-
agreement.
he knew that going in.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then there,
but I
there are
ha-
some Ferraris, and I can't think of which model it was, but I remember back in the day, it might have been the F40 when the F40 came out.
Which
But
there was
you
only
already-
like
You already
100?
had to own and be in good standing with Ferrari. You already had to own 3 Ferraris and be in like excellent standing with Ferrari to be considered to be put on the list for the F40 when it came out. And if Ferrari determined you didn't drive that car hard enough, because they could data log it anytime they wanted, they could take it away from you because you weren't driving it. You were treating it as an investment piece.
This is fucking amazing that they do this to people.
Dude, it's nuts. Because
Wow.
people want that Ferrari experience. They want to own a Ferrari.
And Ferrari is one of the things I saw more recently is like influencers.
Yeah, they'll buy them.
No, they'll like rent one to take pictures with.
Yeah.
Ferrari will throw cease and desists and be like,
You don't
"That's
own
not
this
your
Ferrari.
property. You're not allowed to take a picture with it. It was a condition of our sale to the." It's Ferrari does not fuck around, and like Ferrari still largely they're owned by who? Fiat.
Yeah.
Whereas Lamborghinis and Bugatti are owned by VW.
Uh-huh.
Well, they're owned by the VW group, by Volkswagen.
Right. They're like, yeah, fine, whatever. But there's something like Ferrari is like cunty as fuck.
That makes me never want to ever even
Dude, you want
remotely.
to know how cunty Ferrari is?
How? Yeah.
Lamborghini only exists because Enzo Ferrari pissed off the dude named Lamborghini. Lamborghini was originally a tractor manufacturer company.
yeah.
And after World War II, the dude that owns Lamborghini was like, hey, man, I make these tractors. I've got money. I can help you with land development or whatever. Can you make me this Ferrari I want? And the guy's like, no, fuck you, tractor boy. And he's like, oh, fuck me, tractor boy? Okay. And then he just started Lamborghini, the car company, purely to spite Enzo Ferrari.
Wow.
Yeah, Enzo
Ah, good for him.
Enzo and a few and subsequent family members are literally like Ferrari's been such cunts to the better or worse, however you want to. But
sounds
but Ford,
Yeah.
the Ford
the
F40
GT40.
doesn't exist without him being a cunt. And then it became fucking the third generation Ford.
Deuce.
Was it the second generation? I thought it was a fourth.
He is
third.
the third generation, but his name was Henry II.
He
He's
literally
the Deuce.
hired every great engineer he could find that said, "I need to make a car that will beat Ferrari in the 24-hour Le Mans."
Yeah.
That was the benchmark. And like the first year, like they did it once, and then it was F40, 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 F40 for like 4-5 years as a motherfucker.
They did lose like the first 3
Yes,
years.
badly.
Like the very first year, they didn't even finish.
Yes,
shit.
not one of
But
the
they
4
did
cars
show
they entered.
Ferrari that they had built cars that would go faster in the straights. They would corner like a motherfucker and go faster in the straights than the Ferrari could go. And then the second year, like, I think maybe one finished, but did not
Finished, but
finish
did
first.
not in even the top 3. It came
And
in
then
like
like
fifth.
it was, I think it was like the fourth year, it was like 65 or something like that.
Yeah.
They podiumed 1, 2, 3, and then they did that like almost like it was Ford all the way to like 1970.
Yeah, it was just like, fuck you, Ferrari. That's how much Enzo and like that whole thing pissed people off. They're like, I'm coming for you, motherfucker.
Competition, man. Competition.
So if we were talking like a supercar, I don't consider a lot of supercars because I don't fit in a lot of supercars. I'm never
You
going
and
to
me
own
both,
a Ferrari.
man.
I'm never
too
going to own a
lanky.
Lamborghini. I have some hope for maybe a German super exotic because like I know I fit in a Porsche. I drove a 944.
Ooh. Late 80s, early 90s?
It was a 84 944 naturally aspirated,
It's a good car.
5-speed. It was the first
underrated car.
It was the first car, like, a friend of mine bought it right after high school. And it was the first car that, like, 4 of us learned how to properly slide a car in that car. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you can.
'Cause you can,
high
like-
torque rear wheel drive.
It's not even high torque. It's a really low performance numbers. But
It's
it's
a
got a
light
50-50 weight balance.
In the 44, dude?
Look it up, man.
No shit.
Yeah, instead of having, like, the transmission right off of the motor, it had a torque tube. The transmission was at the back in the transfer case.
I didn't know that
It may be
car had
not
a
50-50,
close to-
but it
well,
was a
close.
bitchin', like...
It was close in the same way that the Mercedes, what's the Mercedes? The looks like a goddamn flying penis, but it had a 50-50 weight
Oh,
distribution.
the
SLK
500, I think, maybe.
is that? Yeah, with and they originally
And then
had
they
gull
made like
wings.
the SOK Black, and then yeah. But yeah, that was the first car a lot of my friends learned to slide. Because you could go into a corner, like, it was a little harder to slide for me because I was super fat at the time. I was easily like 450 pounds. So I couldn't, like, necessarily get the mustard up to slide, like, initiate a slide from a dead stop. I was too much of a weight ballast for the car. But if I could catch, like, a green light where I had an open lane and I could downshift a second, I figured out how to just and you just hold it drift for, like, a whole intersection. You know what I mean? And that also helped cement my love of German cars. Like, we also had the same buddy had pull this up, a 77 BMW 2002. Might have been a 76. It was old. It was awesome. Yeah, there that bitch is. It was white, but it was just trapped out. I remember someone had shaved the door handles. But, like, they didn't do a good job. They just, like, filled in where the handle was with body filler, like, nothing behind it. But that car was fun to drive, man. Little 4-cylinder, rear-wheel drive, 4-speed transmission. It was like a go-kart. It had, like, 13-inch wheels. What was the most fun car you ever had?
I've owned.
Yeah.
It would be the Subaru 2.5 GT.
Wait, pull that up. There's enough of them
2005.
that I need to picture to know what we're talking about.
Oh, it had a terrible, terrible flaw with its turbo.
Oh yeah,
but
they puke
fucking
out
me,
everything.
was it fun as fuck to drive.
Sure.
Mine's my current car.
That's the most fun car you ever had?
Yeah.
I'm glad you're enjoying that car, Hamill. It brings a smile to my
Yeah.
face.
I've had some hoopties, man. I've had some fucking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that body style. I had a homeboy who his wife drove one of those, but it was a wagon.
Oh, go fuck yourself.
No, legitimately, that's how I know it. Because he drove a WRX. He drove one of them bug-eye WRXs.
Well, it was basically the WRX, but it was like a sedan body.
Yeah.
And I was working with a guy that was like very into cars, and he's like, "You're at altitude. Do you need turbo?" And so I was just gonna buy another Subaru Legacy. I'm a sedan guy. I'm not a SUV or wagon guy, despite the cars that you've known me
Oh,
to
I
have.
love my wagon.
But I am like, give me some. And goddamn, I love that car. And when that turbo blew, it was like the saddest day of my life. I was like, fuck. Because that car had a huge turbo.
Yeah.
Like, it was disproportionately big for most turbos. And it would go. Everybody knew it would go, and then it would throw shards into the main engine block. And so when that went, you had to do like a $3,500 engine
You had to rebuild the whole motor because it's pistons, maybe sleeve the block.
the whole
Head work.
fucking thing. And then I sold it for literally the amount it would have cost me to fix it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm fine with that.
I knew a guy that would buy he figured out how to rebuild them. He learned how to do it. Like, he could pull the motor, rebuild the motor, and put the motor back in, like new turbo, whatever else he had to replace. But he did it so many times that he got it down to like a fine science.
Yes, I believe.
And dude, he could do it in like a 2-day turnaround. Like, say he started Monday morning with a car. By the end of the day, Tuesday, that car was pulling out of the garage and another one was coming in for the same. It was just like,
Well,
oh, dude, it was clocker. It was so creepy.
so when mine blew, I called, like, I talked to a lot of people, and everybody's like, you go to these people. And I called them, and they were like, yep, we know exactly what it is. This is literally our flat rate to deal with this car. It's like $3,500. They were like, this is what it needs. And they literally sent me an itemized, like, we know exactly how much work's going to go into that. Like, no variables. Like, this is it. And I was just like, huh. Well, and then while I'm pondering that, somebody saw it, and he was just like, I see this Subaru hasn't moved in your backyard in a hot minute, or in my back parking spot at the old spot. And he was like, I'll buy it for $3,000. I'm like, deal. Like,
Fair.
$3,000 that I get that for a car I'm not using. If you want to, and I incidentally ran into him at like Natural Grocers like 18 months later, and I'm like, how'd that work out? And he was just like, yeah, it was about like $3,800 in parts, and we got it. It's beautiful now. Good on you, man. You got it done. Don't hate
No,
you.
I get it. Like, so the 3 things I was super scared of for my truck, and I think, like, now that I've owned it for a while and I fucked with it and whatever, I think that truck was amazingly well taken care of until maybe about 20,000 miles ago. Like, all my suspension is solid. It all looks like it's new-ish. There's nothing wrong with my drivetrain.
So what happened
my
in the
tranny
last
doesn't-
20?
I think someone bought it used, like maybe at auction or something, and just kind of beat it up for a couple of months, and then like unloaded it at auction again. Like maybe that gap from 180,000 miles to the 207 I bought it at or whatever. Because there's a lot of dirt built up in it now. Like, I pulled my dash apart to see how intensive my stereo was going to be, and there's just dirt packed into everything. I'm like, that's fucking weird. So, like, there's, like, the truck was just abused, but also really well taken care of. Does that make sense?
Took care of one thing, didn't care about the other.
Yeah. Like the drivetrain on that truck is solid. Like numerically, by the amount of miles, that tranny should be slipping like an old lady on ice skates. And it's not. It's golden. Like the tranny fluid looks good. My guess is at some point it probably went out like around 150,000 miles, and then someone had another tranny put in or rebuilt. Like it's just, I love it. Sorry, I don't remember what started that, but I'm having a redneck moment.
Redneck moment. Yeah, no, I've either given every car I've ever owned to you, or I've put it into the ground.
Nice.
My first car was a Chevy Blazer. The drive shaft fell off. My second car was... What was my second car? My second car was my wife's first car. It was a Chrysler LeBaron. She gave me her...
That's hot.
And,
Not a Buick LeBaron?
no.
No, it's a Chrysler Baron. It's a K car.
Yeah. It was an old lady car. And I drove that into the ground. It's the motor seized on me on the highway going to an opening day game.
Fuck yeah, it did.
Yeah.
And it was front wheel drive, so it scared the shit out of you.
Yeah, oh, dude, it was rough. But and then my next car was my Nissan Sentra, which then the whatchamacallit, the good Lord took away from me because of
It rusted.
East Coast rusting. I live near the ocean, man, and they use salt on the roads. So like the wintertime, man, woof. And that's why like car washes were always open, even if it was like -2 degrees outside, because people needed to wash that shit off the bottom of their car. Otherwise, you'd have what happened to me, where they were like, "Yeah, we don't think this car is structurally sound enough for you to make it through the entire year without you falling through it." And I'm like, "What?" I thought they were joking. I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, dude, this car is fucked." I'm like, "All right, cool, awesome." And then I got the Aveo. Then I gave that to you. And then after the Aveo, I got the Ford Focus. I gave that to you, and then I got the whatchamacallit. I got the Kia Soul. Bango bango.
So I should have a Kia Soul in about 4 years.